What makes the Season 20 official trailer feel so perfect is not that it's loud or dramatic, but that it understands restraint. It doesn't rush to explain everything, and it doesn't hold your hand either. Instead, it quietly shows us that the world of Heartland is changing, whether the characters are ready for it or not. There's a clear shift in tone right away. This is no longer about holding on to the past at all costs. It's about deciding what parts of that past are worth carrying forward. You can feel it in the way the characters move, the way they look at each other, and even in the silences that linger a little longer than usual. The trailer makes one thing very clear. Season 20 is not just another chapter, it's a turning point. Jack's presence feels calmer, almost reflective, like a man who knows he's done his part and is slowly letting go. Lou, on the other hand, steps into the frame with a kind of determination that feels earned rather than forced. There's no big announcement, no dramatic claim, but you can tell she's preparing to carry the weight of Heartland in her own way. And then there's Amy. The trailer treats her differently this time. She's not positioned as someone stuck between choices. She's shown as someone who has already made one, even if the cost of it hasn't fully settled yet. That alone adds a quiet tension that stays with you long after the trailer ends. The brilliance of the trailer is how it balances hope and uncertainty. It shows warmth, familiar faces, and moments that feel like home, but it never lets you forget that something is shifting underneath all of it. The ranch is still there, the family is still there, but the emotional center is moving. You get the sense that Season 20 is asking a difficult question without ever saying it out loud. What happens when the place that raised you can no longer hold the life you're growing into? The trailer doesn't answer that question, and that's exactly why it works. It trusts the audience to F. As the trailer continues, what really stands out is how carefully it builds emotional pressure without ever tipping into chaos. Heartland has always been a show about quiet strength, and Season 20's trailer leans fully into that identity. Instead of explosive confrontations, we see the aftermath of choices already made. There's a heaviness in the air, like everyone is standing at the edge of something irreversible. The ranch itself almost feels like a character here, steady and familiar, yet surrounded by people who are clearly changing. You can sense that the safety Heartland once represented is being redefined. This isn't about losing home, but about realizing that home might no longer look the same. The trailer hints at responsibility shifting hands, and it does so in a way that feels natural rather than dramatic. Lou's presence carries a quiet authority now. She's no longer reacting to problems, she's anticipating them. There's a seriousness to her expressions that suggests leadership isn't something she's chasing anymore, it's something she's accepted. That transition alone sets the tone for the entire season. At the same time, the trailer doesn't let us forget the emotional cost of growth. Change isn't framed as exciting or glamorous. It's shown as heavy, sometimes lonely, and often uncertain. That's especially clear in the way Amy is portrayed. There's a calmness to her, but it's not the kind that comes from peace. It feels more like resolve. She looks like someone who has stopped asking for permission to want more, even if wanting more means leaving something behind. That emotional complexity is what keeps the trailer gripping. You're not just watching events unfold, you're watching people wrestle with who they are becoming. The trailer also does something very smart by letting unspoken tension carry entire moments. There are looks exchanged that say more than dialogue ever could. You can feel relationships being tested, not through betrayal or anger, but there etc. What truly elevates the Season 20 trailer is how it reframes relationships, especially the ones that have defined Heartland for so long. This time the focus isn't on conflict tearing people apart, but on love quietly asking for space to grow. The trailer suggests that bonds are not breaking, but stretching, and that idea alone carries an emotional weight that feels both mature and heartbreaking. Amy's journey sits at the center of this shift. She's no longer portrayed as someone anchored solely to Heartland Ranch. Instead, she feels like someone standing with one foot in the past and the other in a future she's finally allowing herself to imagine. There's a softness to her scenes, but also a firmness. Like she's learned that choosing herself doesn't mean abandoning the people she loves. That balance is difficult, and the trailer lets us feel just how heavy that realization is. At the same time, the presence of Nathan adds a new emotional texture to the story. The trailer doesn't oversell him or turn him into a flawless hero. Instead, he's shown as steady, supportive, and deeply aware of the responsibility that comes with loving someone like Amy. Their connection feels grounded, built on shared understanding rather than grand gestures. And that makes it more powerful. You can sense that whatever future they are moving toward, it's one they've thought about carefully, even if it still scares them. The trailer also subtly highlights how this shift affects the rest of the family. Jack's role feels more symbolic now. He watches more than he acts, and in those moments, you can feel the weight of legacy pressing down on him. He's not losing control, he's choosing trust. That quiet surrender is one of the most emotional threads in the trailer, even though it's never stated outright. Lou's interactions carry a similar depth. She feels like the bridge between what Heartland was and what it's becoming. She understands tradition, but she's no longer ruled by it. That makes her. As the trailer moves deeper into Season 20's emotional core, there's a growing sense that Heartland is preparing the audience for something lasting, not just something dramatic. The pacing slows just enough to let the weight of each decision sink in. You can feel that this season is less concerned with external problems and more focused on internal reckoning. The characters aren't running from conflict anymore. They're facing the truth of who they are and what they want, even when that truth is uncomfortable. That's especially clear in how the trailer frames the idea of legacy. Heartland has always been about passing things down, knowledge, values, and land. But Season 20 seems to ask whether legacy is about preservation or transformation. The trailer suggests it might be both. There's a quiet acceptance that honoring the past doesn't mean freezing it in place. Sometimes it means allowing it to change shape so it can survive. That message resonates strongly, especially for a show that has lasted this long. You can sense that the writers understand the emotional contract they have with the audience. They're not trying to shock loyal viewers, they're trying to guide them through change gently, with care and respect. Amy's arc in the trailer feels particularly reflective because of this. She's shown in moments of stillness, as if she's absorbing the reality of what her next step means. There's no hesitation in her eyes, but there is awareness. She knows that choosing a new life doesn't erase where she came from, it simply adds another layer to her story. That awareness makes her journey feel earned rather than abrupt. Meanwhile, the rest of the family appears to be recalibrating around her choice. There's no resentment, no dramatic fallout hinted at. Instead, there's something quieter and more painful: understanding. And sometimes, understanding hurts more than conflict because it forces everyone to acknowledge that things really are changing. The trailer also carries a say. In the end, the Season 20 official trailer feels like a quiet promise between the show and its audience. A promise that Heartland is not afraid of change, but also not careless with what it leaves behind. There's a deep emotional honesty in how the future is presented, not as something perfectly planned, but as something slowly unfolding. The trailer makes it clear that this season will ask us to sit with emotions rather than rush past them. Joy feels softer, sadness feels heavier, and hope feels more real because it isn't guaranteed. That emotional balance is what gives the trailer its lasting impact. It doesn't try to impress with spectacle. It connects through truth. You get the sense that Season 20 will be about choosing growth even when it hurts, about trusting love even when the path forward isn't clear, and about honoring home even when it no longer defines who you are. There's a quiet confidence in the way the trailer ends, like the story knows it doesn't need to shout to be heard. It simply invites you to come along for one more meaningful journey. And after everything Heartland has given us over the years, that invitation feels earned. Season 20 doesn't look like it's trying to be perfect. It looks like it's trying to be sincere. And sometimes, sincerity is the most powerful thing a story can offer. What stays with you long after the trailer ends is the sense that Season 20 is fully aware of the responsibility it carries. This isn't just another season meant to extend the story. It feels like a season meant to reflect on everything that has come before and gently prepare us for what may come after. There's an emotional maturity in the way the trailer frames its final impressions. Nothing feels rushed, and nothing feels accidental. Every look, every pause, every quiet moment seems to say that Heartland understands its audience has grown alongside these characters. The trailer respects that growth. It doesn't rely on nostalgia alone, but it doesn't ignore it either. Instead, it weaves nostalgia into something deeper, something that acknowledges time passing and lives changing. There's a strong sense that season 20 will focus on acceptance. Not just acceptance of new beginnings, but acceptance of endings that arrive naturally, rather than tragically. That's a difficult emotional space to sit in, and yet the trailer makes it feel gentle rather than painful. It suggests that saying goodbye to certain chapters doesn't mean losing their meaning. In fact, it might give them more weight. The future teased in the trailer feels open. Not uncertain in a frightening way, but open in a hopeful one. There's room for growth, for new stories, and for different perspectives, even if some familiar ones begin to step back. That openness is what gives the trailer its quiet confidence. It doesn't need to promise big twists or dramatic upheaval. It trusts that the emotional truth of its characters is enough to carry the season. And that trust feels well-placed. Season 20 looks like it will ask viewers to feel deeply rather than react loudly, to reflect rather than rush, to appreciate the journey rather than demand constant payoff. By the end, you're left with a calm certainty that whatever happens next, it will be handled with care. The trailer doesn't just build excitement. It builds. By the final moments of the season 20 trailer, everything comes together in a way that feels quietly powerful. There's no dramatic promise spelled out, no bold declaration about the future of Heartland. Instead, the trailer leaves us with a feeling, and that feeling is trust. Trust that the story knows where it's going. Trust that the characters we've grown with are being handled with care. And trust that whatever changes are coming, they're coming from a place of honesty, rather than shock value. The emotional weight of the trailer lingers because it feels intentional. It's not trying to convince us that season 20 will be perfect. It's showing us that it will be meaningful. There's a difference. Meaning comes from reflection, from choices that carry consequences, and from allowing characters to evolve even when it's hard to watch. The trailer suggests that season 20 will be about closure. Not in the sense of ending everything, but in the sense of completing something important. It feels like the kind of season that looks back without getting stuck and looks forward without forgetting. That balance is incredibly difficult to achieve, and yet the trailer makes it seem effortless. There's also a deep sense of gratitude woven into these final moments. Gratitude for the land, for family, for love that endures even when paths diverge. You can feel that the show is aware of its own history and is choosing to honor it rather than rewrite it. That awareness gives the trailer a warmth that stays with you. Even the uncertainty feels gentle, like the calm before a new beginning rather than a storm. What makes the trailer truly perfect is that it invites the audience to grow alongside the characters. It doesn't ask us to hold on tighter. It asks us to let go just enough to make room for what comes next. And that's a brave thing for a long-running show to do. Season 20 doesn't look like it's chasing nostalgia, but it's not abandoning it either. It's transforming it into something. As the trailer unfolds further, what stands out is the way season 20 subtly builds suspense, without ever needing dramatic explosions or over-the-top confrontations. It's suspense rooted in character, in choices, and in relationships that have been decades in the making. Every glance, every hesitation, every quiet conversation feels charged with meaning. The trailer communicates that the stakes are no longer about simple problems on the ranch. They're about identity, responsibility, and the courage to step into the unknown. Nathan's presence feels more layered than ever. He's not just a supporting character, he's a catalyst for change. The trailer hints at the challenges he'll face, not only as a partner to Amy but also as someone navigating the responsibilities of the family and the ranch. It's clear that this season is shaping him into a central figure, a character whose decisions will ripple across everyone's lives. Meanwhile, Amy's journey continues to anchor the trailer emotionally. She's no longer uncertain about who she is, but she's learning what it means to build something new while still honoring everything that came before. That tension between past and future carries the trailer forward, giving it a rhythm that's both exciting and quietly suspenseful. You can almost feel the weight of every choice the characters make. Lou's quiet determination, Jack's reflective presence, and even the hints at secondary conflicts all create an undercurrent of tension that makes every second of the trailer feel necessary. There's a sense that nothing is wasted, that every scene is deliberately placed to give insight into the challenges and growth coming in season 20. What makes this trailer truly gripping is its restraint. It trusts the audience to read between the lines, to understand the stakes without having them spelled out. The suspense isn't in danger or betrayal, it's in the emotional and relational consequences of change, and that makes it feel both thrilling and deep. What truly seals the perfection of the Season 20 trailer is the emotional aftertaste it leaves behind. Even once it's over, the feelings don't fade. They settle. There's a quiet realization that Heartland is no longer just telling stories about life on a ranch, but about life itself, how people grow, how they change, and how they learn to let go without losing love. The trailer feels like a pause, a deep breath, before stepping into something new. It doesn't overwhelm you with information, and it doesn't beg for attention. Instead, it stays with you because it feels real. You start thinking about how far these characters have come, and somehow you also think about your own journey along the way. That's the power of this trailer. It turns reflection into anticipation. It makes you curious, not just about what will happen next, but about how it will feel to watch it happen. There's a sense that Season 20 will be slower in the best way, more emotional, more thoughtful, and more intentional. It feels like a season that understands the beauty of quiet moments and the strength it takes to move forward when everything familiar is behind you. By the end, the trailer doesn't just make you excited. It makes you ready to say goodbye to certain chapters, ready to welcome new ones, and ready to trust Heartland one more time to tell a story that matters. That's why this trailer feels perfect, not because it promises everything, but because it promises meaning. The final impression the Season 20 trailer leaves is one of emotional completeness and quiet anticipation. By the end, it becomes clear that Heartland is not just continuing a story, it's preparing to honor everything the show has built while gently steering its characters toward the next chapter of their lives. The trailer gives us glimpses of hope, moments of tension, and traces of nostalgia, all woven together in a way that feels intentional and deeply satisfying. It doesn't rely on dramatic cliffhangers or sudden shocks. Instead, it focuses on the kind of suspense that comes from caring about the characters, their choices, and the paths they are beginning to